When, after a long 15-year marriage, my husband asked for a divorce, I accepted quietly and signed the documents. While he joyfully enjoyed a meal with his lover at our go-to restaurant, I walked over with a friendly smile. "Cheers to your newfound freedom," I said, placing an envelope in front of them. The smile faded from his face as he glanced at the DNA test results inside, which revealed a vivid red lipstick stain on pristine white fabric. That marked the end of my marriage, not with loud arguments or dramatic scenes, but through the quiet shock of realization. Frozen in our spacious closet, I held William's dress shirt, my hands shaking. I recalled that moment so clearly. It was a Tuesday at 9:17 a.m. The twins were off at school, and Emma was busy with her piano class. While collecting clothes for the dry cleaners, I stumbled upon William's gym bag hidden behind his neatly lined Oxford shoes. Its zipper was slightly open, and peeking out was the wrinkled shirt he claimed to have worn for an emergency surgery the night before. The stain didn't look like anything a doctor would bring to the hospital. No surgeon would wear that deep shade of red. Before delving deeper into Jennifer's shocking revelation, I encourage you to join our storytelling community. If you connect with stories of resilience amidst betrayal, please subscribe. It's free and assists in sharing more tales of women regaining their strength. Now let's explore how this seemingly perfect life starts to break apart. I remained there, heart racing, as 15 years of my marriage condensed into this single, damning piece of proof. Dr. William Carter, the esteemed cardiac surgeon, was not just my husband, but the father of our 3 kids. He had the scent of another woman on his clothes. The carefully crafted life I believed in shattered like delicate glass hitting marble. I couldn't help but appreciate the irony. For years, people described us as the flawless Carters. Him, with his steady hands that saved lives. And me, with my endless support and commitment to our home. Our colonial-style house in Oakwood Heights, complete with a well-kept lawn and white picket fence, resembled a perfect film set. The embodiment of the American dream. "Jennifer makes everything happen," he would proclaim at charity events, wrapping his arm around me with a champagne glass in hand. I couldn't achieve my work without her. The wives of the other doctors would smile politely, but I noticed the envy in their eyes. We seemed to have it all. 3 wonderful children, financial stability, and a partnership that had survived the hardships of medical training and William's ascent to success, or so I believed. Reflecting on the past, I now see that I should have noticed the warning signs. William began to stay later at work, asserting the hospital was short-staffed. His weekend golf outings with co-workers increased. Our discussions became brief and focused on practical matters, organizing the kids' schedules, tackling household tasks, and making plans for social events that benefited his career. When he was promoted to chief of cardiac surgery last spring, I threw a surprise celebration for him with his colleagues. Although William publicly expressed his gratitude, he later told me that I had humiliated him in front of the hospital. Bored. That night, he chose to sleep in the guest room, citing exhaustion. "The pressure must be overwhelming," I said to my sister over the phone the next day. "With the promotion comes a lot of responsibility. Men in powerful positions often change, Jen," she cautioned. I dismissed her advice, thinking it stemmed from her own bad experiences in marriage. The emotional distance between us also increased. William would turn away when I tried to connect, attributing his weariness to the long hours of surgeries. In an attempt to rekindle our spark, I purchased new lingerie, arranged date nights, and followed all the tips from women's magazines. He participated with little enthusiasm, frequently checking his phone during our carefully planned evenings. "Are we okay?" I asked one evening when he barely touched his favorite dish. "Just tired, Jen." "The Jenkins case is tricky," he replied, before retreating to his home office, closing the door and speaking in hushed tones as he took business calls late into the night. I value trust and respect privacy. I never thought about checking his phone or emails. That was for insecure women, not me, Jennifer Carter, the ideal spouse. All this changed as our 15th anniversary approached. I wanted to surprise William with a romantic getaway in Napa Valley, where we had honeymooned. I needed to coordinate our schedules, and his phone lay on the counter while he was in the shower. Just one quick look to see if he was available that weekend. That was all I planned to do. While holding his phone, a notification caught my eye. Dr. Rebecca Harrington. Last night was incredible. I can't wait to feel you inside me again. When are you leaving her? My hand shook as I opened the message thread, revealing hundreds of texts over the past 8 months. Intimate pictures, plans made while I was busy with Emma's recital, or helping the twins with their science tasks, and cruel jokes at my expense. William, she thinks she's planning a big anniversary surprise. Rebecca, poor thing, still thinks there's something worth celebrating. I quietly put the phone back, made his usual coffee, and kissed him goodbye as he left for the hospital. Then, I began to vomit until all that came up was bitter bile. That night, after the kids were in bed, I confronted him in our bedroom, the same space where we had conceived our children, had comforted each other through miscarriages, and where he had supported me through the loss of my father. "Are you having an affair with Rebecca Harrington?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. William didn't react at all. He carefully took off his watch and placed it on the nightstand. "Yes. How long? Why does it matter?" His icy gaze made it hard to recognize him. "I want a divorce, Jennifer." The harshness in his voice surprised me more than his words. This wasn't a confession. It felt like a sentence. "Why?" I asked softly. "I've outgrown this life. I've outgrown us." He waved his hand around the bedroom as if it were a cage. "I've devoted 15 years to this marriage and our children. I'm 45. If I'm going to start fresh, it needs to happen now." "Start fresh? We created this life together, William. Everything that defines us." His laughter was filled with bitterness. "I save lives daily. What about you, Jennifer? Bake cookies for fundraisers? Sort my sock drawer? I made this life happen, thanks to the weight of domesticity." His words hit me like a punch. I had put my teaching career on hold to support his goals in medical school, managed the home and children while he focused on his ambitions, and organized numerous dinner parties to help him connect with hospital administrators. "You'll be financially secure," he continued, sounding like he was discussing a business deal. "The kids will be okay. Kids always adapt." That night, he slept in the guest room while I lay awake, piecing together the last 15 years, questioning if any of it was real. He left for the hospital before sunrise the next morning, and I found a lawyer's business card on the kitchen counter. The perfect life I had believed we had built was just an illusion. The cracks had always existed. I had simply been too committed to our facade to notice them. What I didn't realize at that moment was that the lipstick mark and the affair were merely surface-level issues on a foundation that had been shaky from the start. William's betrayal was far deeper than I could fathom, and the truth behind his deceit would soon upend my world in ways that would make his affair feel minor. The day after finding William's lawyer's card, I scheduled a meeting with Patricia Winters, the fiercest divorce attorney in Oakwood Heights. I needed to know my options and prepare for what lay ahead. Patricia's first piece of advice was straightforward. "Document everything, Jennifer. Focus on the finances." Later that evening, after putting the children to bed and assuring them that Daddy is just busy at the hospital, I unlocked our home. Safe. Inside were 15 years of financial documents, tax returns, investment records, property deeds. As I sifted through the papers, inconsistencies began to reveal themselves like dark spots on what I had thought was a flawless surface. There were monthly withdrawals, $5,000, $7,500, sometimes $10,000, sent from our joint savings to a place called Riverside Holdings. There were no explanations, no records showing where the money had gone. About $250,000 had vanished over the past 2 years. The next morning, I reached out to our bank. Although the account manager seemed unsure, he eventually validated my fears. Riverside Holdings was a limited liability company established entirely in William's name. That was where the money trail stopped. "Is this typical in divorces?" I inquired of Patricia during our follow-up meeting, sliding the bank statements across her polished desk. "Hidden assets?" "Sadly, yes. She scrutinized the papers through her narrow glasses. However, this pattern hints at something more deliberate, something that's been planned for a long time. During this discussion, Patricia brought up Dr. Nathan Brooks. "I've encountered his name in another case of mine," she said. "He was a former colleague of your husband. 3 years ago, he left Ashford Medical Center under unusual circumstances. A conversation with him might prove valuable." I recalled Dr. Brooks faintly. He was reserved, hardworking, and always looked uncomfortable at hospital gatherings. He had vanished from the medical field without any explanation. When I asked William about him, he waved it off, claiming it was just professional differences, nothing worth mentioning. I made 5 calls before I discovered his new practice, a small family clinic located 40 miles from the city. His receptionist was protective, but upon hearing William's name, she quickly put me through. "Mrs. Carter?" His voice was heavy, causing my stomach to knot. "I've anticipated your call for years." We arranged to meet at a cafe situated between our homes. Dr. Brooks had visibly aged since I last saw him, with deep lines etched around his eyes and hints of gray in his hair. He ordered a black coffee and observed me with an analytical stare. "I expected this day would arrive," he said, softly. "I just wasn't certain whether I or William would crack first, me due to my conscience or him because of his arrogance." What he disclosed during the next hour shattered the remnants of my life. "There was an issue at the fertility clinic at Ashford," he explained, his voice barely audible. "Multiple couples reported unsuccessful IVF attempts despite ideal conditions. I noted discrepancies in the lab reports, slight variations between what was documented and what actually happened." My hands shook around my untouched latte. "We had tried 3 IVF cycles to have the twins, and another 2 for Emma. Each failure had been heartbreaking, while each success felt miraculous." I began to investigate quietly. The clinic's director, Dr. Mercer, was forging results, swapping specimens, and manipulating success rates to protect the clinic's reputation and funding. When I confronted him, he confessed that William knew about it. He was more than just aware. He was involved. "That can't be true," I whispered. "William wanted children. We both did." Dr. Brooks slid a thumb drive across the table. "It contains hospital records, lab reports, and William's signature on authorizations for procedural modifications. His term for tampering with specimens, including yours. Why would he do this?" My voice was shaky. What would motivate him? First, it was all about career growth. Mercer was part of the board that later elevated William to chief. Yet, given your situation, he paused. "William has a genetic heart issue known as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. While it's mild for him, there's a 50% chance he could pass it on to his kids. A surgeon with such ambition wouldn't want children who might have a condition that could damage his professional reputation." The weight of this hit me hard, like a huge wave. I clutched the table to keep myself balanced. "So, he made sure his sperm was never used during our IVF treatments? The clinic relied on anonymous donors instead?" William was fully aware of his actions, came the reply. When I left the meeting, I felt the thumb drive pressing against the inside of my purse, along with a suggestion for a discreet genetic testing service. Later that night, once the kids were in bed, I gathered DNA samples, hair from their brushes and saliva from their toothbrushes. I also took one of William's old combs from the bathroom. The 2-week wait for the results felt like torture. William sped up the divorce process. Asking for custody evaluations and claiming my emotional state made me an unsuitable mother. His lawyer sent harsh letters questioning my capability to support our children financially, implying that my role in the family had been insignificant. They proposed a settlement that would leave me with hardly enough to get by, a calculated strategy to push me into compliance. Despite this, I put on a brave front. I aided the twins with their science projects, went to Emma's recital, smiled during school drop-offs, and nodded politely when other mothers inquired about William's absence. "He's on a hospital schedule," I would say. "You know how it goes." At night, I researched cases of medical ethics breaches and fertility fraud. The stories I found were heartbreaking. Doctors using their own sperm instead of real donors, clinics mixing embryos, families uncovering biological secrets years later, but I couldn't find anything exactly like our situation. A husband intentionally making sure his kids weren't biologically his while pretending to have a true genetic connection. Then the testing company called on a Tuesday morning. The woman's tone was cold and businesslike. "We have your results, Mrs. Carter. Would you like them sent via email, or should we discuss them over the phone?" "Email," I whispered, aware that I had to see the proof for myself. The clinical phrasing in the report did nothing to soften the shock. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the tested children. The probability of paternity is 0%. I made 3 copies of the document, one for my lawyer, another for the safety deposit box I had opened solely in my name, and the last was tucked into a cream envelope featuring the Ashford Medical Center logo, which I had taken from William's office while pretending that everything was still the same. My hands were steady now. The initial devastation had hardened into something far more chilling. This situation extended beyond just infidelity or concealed assets. It represented a profound betrayal that had begun even before our children were born. William had stripped me of my choices. He had woven an intricate web of lies that shaped 15 years of my existence, molded my identity as a mother, and defined the very existence of our kids, all while presenting himself as the caring provider, the devoted father, and the brilliant surgeon saving lives. With the uncovering of the truth, everything shifted, and I had gained the strength to ensure that it would also transform his life. Holding the results of the DNA test prompted my sorrow to sharpen into something more definitive. For 15 years, William had built a deceptive world, and it was now my turn to carefully and thoroughly take it apart. I started by contacting other couples who had undergone fertility procedures at Ashford during William's tenure. Dr. Brooks shared a list of 27 families who could have been impacted. The majority declined to speak with me, hesitant to reconsider the origins of their cherished children. However, 5 families were willing to meet. The Millers had twins who appeared nothing like them. The Patels had a daughter facing unexpected health issues. The Johnsons, Garcias, and Wilsons each recounted stories of miraculous pregnancies after numerous failed attempts once Dr. Mercer became personally involved in their cases. "We felt so blessed," Sarah Wilson told me, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We never thought to question the how." My investigation led me to Diane Fletcher, a former nurse at the fertility clinic for 12 years. We met at her modest apartment outside the city, surrounded by filing cabinets. "I maintained records of everything," she said, her hands slightly shaking as she retrieved a leather-bound journal. "Patient names, changes to procedures, signatures, for approvals. They assumed I discarded it all when I left." "Why didn't you alert anyone?" I inquired. Diane's smile held a hint of bitterness. "I did. I went to hospital administration, the medical ethics board, and even the police. Each time, the inquiry vanished. Your husband has influential connections, Mrs. Carter." She showed me entries dating back 8 years, with meticulous records of specimen switches, forged consent forms, and irregular procedures. William's name repeatedly appeared, approving protocol changes concerning genetic issues. "And what about my situation?" I asked softly. Diane flipped to a page labeled with my name and the dates of our IVF treatments. "Special instructions. From Dr. Carter himself. Specimen replacement authorized due to quality issues. No donor identification kept on record." I captured images of every document, each signature, and every incriminating note. As I was exiting, Diane handed me a business card saying, "Medical Ethics Investigation Unit. You should ask for Agent Dawson and mention I referred you." Agent Michael Dawson was part of a joint task force aimed at tackling fraud in healthcare. For 18 months, he had been trying to build a case against Ashford, but faced a barrier of silence surrounding the fertility clinic. "Your proof might be crucial," he told me at our initial meeting. "However, we need additional evidence. Financial documents indicating kickbacks, recorded confessions, and a witness from within the clinic." Determined to gather what he required, I maintained the pretense of being a woman reluctantly accepting a divorce. During mediation, I gave William a sad smile. agreed to interim custody plans, and feigned consideration of his insulting financial offer. "You're being unusually agreeable, Jennifer," William said after one particularly tense session with our lawyers. "The children are my priority," I gently responded. "I only want what's best for everyone." With each concession I seemed to make, his confidence surged. He took Rebecca to school events, introduced her to our friends, and even allowed her to stay overnight when our children visited his new apartment downtown. All the while, I discreetly recorded conversations, took photos of documents, and built my case. My investigation shifted unexpectedly when I enlisted a private investigator to dig into Rebecca's past. The findings were shocking. She wasn't just William's colleague and lover. She was the daughter of Madeline Harrington. Madeline had been William's patient 5 years earlier, undergoing a routine valve replacement that turned tragic when William allegedly made a mistake. Although the hospital cleared him, determining that Madeline had not disclosed a medication that complicated her surgery, buried in the records Agent Dawson retrieved was the truth. William had been sleep-deprived after a weekend with Rebecca in Chicago. His mistake was covered up, documents were falsified, and the family was compensated using Ashford's money. A year later, stress-induced heart failure claimed Madeline's husband, leaving Rebecca alone. She changed her last name, severed ties with her past, and systematically integrated herself into William's life. First as a co-worker, then as his mistress. Her desire for revenge had been building for years, just as mine was now. I considered confronting her, maybe even proposing a partnership, but ultimately ruled it out. Rebecca's reasons were driven by emotion, while mine had to be strategic and deliberate. Over the coming month, I collected statements from former staff of the clinic, tracked the flow of money from Ashford to Riverside Holdings, and then to offshore accounts, and obtained sworn testimonies from patients whose treatments had been affected. While Agent Dawson focused on developing a legal case, I worked on revealing a more personal truth: the complete breakdown of William Carter's carefully maintained facade. I recorded a conversation with William during one of our discussions about co-parenting, subtly directing our talk toward fertility issues. "The twins seem to share your eyes," I said in a casual tone. "Good genes," he responded, while his attention remained on his phone. "Do you ever think about whether they might have inherited your heart condition?" Immediately, he looked up. "What? Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy? Dr. Brooks brought it up." His expression turned dark. "Brooks needs to keep his mouth shut when it doesn't involve him. Don't health concerns regarding our kids matter to him? And to me? There's nothing to be concerned about," he insisted. "I had them tested years ago. They're perfectly fine. How could you conduct tests without informing me? I am their father and a doctor." That was my decision to make. The recording captured everything: his acknowledgement of the condition, his admission of testing our children without my consent, and his ongoing pretense of a biological bond. This was the crucial evidence Agent Dawson needed. The timing was impeccable, as the annual Ashford Medical Center Gala was just around the corner, the hospital's premier event. William was to receive the Physician of the Year award for his innovative contributions to cardiac surgery and steadfast ethical values. The invitation came to our house still addressed to both of us, despite our impending divorce. William texted that he would bring Rebecca as his date, but invited me to join if it wouldn't be too awkward. I replied with a blend of hurt dignity and graciousness. I wouldn't miss it. You truly deserve this acknowledgement. What William didn't realize was that I had already spoken to the chairman of the hospital board and shared key evidence. A special meeting was set for just before the gala, during which Agent Dawson would present the full case against William, Dr. Mercer, and the fertility clinic. As I prepared my gala attire, a sleek black gown that Rebecca had once joked about, as suburban mom trying to be elegant, in a text to William, I received a message informing me that William and Rebecca would celebrate at Vincenzo's after the ceremony, our favorite restaurant where he had proposed 15 years ago. This was the perfect finish to my meticulously planned revelation. The envelope containing the DNA test results was ready, and the authorities were on standby. Every element had been meticulously considered. For the first time in months, I felt a tranquil certainty. William had spent 15 years building a falsehood. Tomorrow evening, the truth would finally come out. The night of the Ashford Gala arrived with striking timing. Thunderstorms loomed ominously, yet they held back, the sky thick with suspense. Alone, I stepped into the hotel ballroom, dressed in the sleek black gown William often remarked made me look like I was trying too hard. My hair was styled up, and diamond earrings, once a gift from a husband who was now a ghost, sparkled in the light as I navigated through the crowd of esteemed medical professionals. I quickly spotted William, who commanded attention near the stage, his arm possessively around Rebecca's waist. She dazzled in a bright crimson dress, the same hue as the lipstick that had sparked this entire cascade of truths. Hospital board members surrounded them, chuckling at his humor and admiring his flawless partner, an emblem of success. Just half an hour earlier, the secret board meeting had wrapped up. From a side room, I had witnessed Agent Dawson unveil the evidence: financial documents, testimonies from patients, and Diane Fletcher's meticulous records. The reactions from board members shifted from disbelief to shock, and finally settled into grim determination. Immediately, the hospital's legal team had reached out to the district attorney's office. Oblivious to these developments, William graciously accepted praise for his forthcoming award. He was unaware that officers stood at every exit, poised for Agent Dawson's signal. He had no inkling that his carefully crafted life was on the brink of collapse. I mingled quietly, receiving sympathies about my crumbling marriage from wives of colleagues who had always perceived me as merely an extension of William's genius. "It's so brave of you to show up tonight," murmured Margaret Reynolds, the chief of surgery's spouse. Her concern felt sincere, but her gaze betrayed her focus on William and Rebecca. "I couldn't miss witnessing William earn the honor he's earned," I responded, forcing a smile that made her visibly uneasy. The award presentation went ahead as scheduled. Dr. Helena Winters, the hospital board chair, determined that a public revelation would be more impactful than a discreet arrest. William made his way to the stage amidst thunderous applause, accepting the crystal trophy with practiced modesty. "Medicine transcends mere science," he announced into the microphone. "It embodies a sacred trust between physician and patient. Ethics must inform every choice, every procedure, every instant in the operating room." During his speech, I observed Rebecca, noting the slight tension in her posture and the studied admiration in her gaze. She was performing a role, just as I had for 15 years, albeit for completely different reasons. Our eyes met for a fleeting moment across the room, and in that brief encounter, a sense of understanding passed between us. Two women aware of the true nature of William Carter. After the ceremony, they headed to Vincenzo's as planned. 20 minutes later, I followed, the cream envelope securely tucked in my clutch. The restaurant remained unchanged. White tablecloths graced the tables, soft lighting enveloped the room, and Italian opera floated gently in the background. The maitre d' instantly recognized me. "Mrs. Carter, it's delightful to see you again. Your husband mentioned you might join them." William was either incredibly confident or orchestrating some form of public insult. Regardless, it aligned perfectly with my intentions. They sat at our cherished table by the windows. William had chosen the 1982 Bordeaux we had enjoyed on our anniversary 5 years prior. The bottle, positioned between them, was more expensive than a month's worth of groceries for our kids. William spotted me first. His face changed from shock to a smug grin, clearly thinking I had come to beg for something. Rebecca turned her head, her flawless features quickly forming a mask of polite worry. "Jennifer," William's voice dripped with the condescending tone he had mastered. "This is a surprise, isn't it?" With calm confidence, I walked toward their table. "You mentioned to the maitre d' that I might drop by. Just a courtesy. I didn't expect you'd actually come," I replied. Rebecca squirmed in her seat. "Maybe I should let you two talk privately." "Please, stay," I returned, holding her gaze. "You deserve to be here, Rebecca." Should I say Rebecca Harrington instead? Her complexion paled. William furrowed his brow in confusion. "What are you talking about?" he asked, frustrated. "Rebecca knows, doesn't she? The daughter of Madeline Harrington, The patient you concealed the truth about. William. The woman whose heart valve you replaced while you were worn out. From your weekend with her daughter in Chicago. How ironic, isn't it? William shifted his attention to Rebecca, realization creeping in. Is this true? He pressed. Her silence confirmed what he feared. Seizing the moment, I placed a cream-colored envelope on the table. Congratulations on your new freedom, I said softly. I think you'll find this quite enlightening. William's hand shook slightly as he opened it, revealing the DNA test results. I watched his expression shift from confusion to disbelief, then horror as the truth sank in. This can't be true, he murmured. Can it? You made sure your sperm was never used during our IVF treatments. You forged medical documents. For 15 years, you deceived me about our children's very existence. Rebecca looked at the paper, then back at William. What does she mean? She asked, bewildered. Nothing, William snapped, trying to regain control. Jennifer's just making things up because she can't handle our divorce. Then you won't mind providing an explanation to the hospital board? I countered, nodding toward the entrance where Dr. Winters and several board members, along with Agent Dawson, were now standing. Or to the district attorney's office? Or to our children? William's face twisted with fury. You vengeful... Watch. Your words, Agent Dawson interrupted as he approached our table. Dr. William Carter, I am arresting you for medical fraud, financial misconduct, and ethical infractions according to the Medical Practice Act. Silence enveloped the restaurant as Dawson began reading the Miranda rights. Rebecca felt paralyzed, her initial thoughts of revenge overtaken by a realization much deeper than she had anticipated. You've been plotting this, William spat as an officer fastened handcuffs around his wrists. All those months pretending to be the compliant ex-wife. 15 years, William. You lived a lie for 15 years. I took only 3 months to reveal it, Rebecca replied. As he was escorted away, Rebecca remained at the table, gazing at her nearly empty wine glass. I didn't know about the children, she murmured softly. I believe you, I said. Your mother also deserved justice. In the weeks that ensued, news of the case ignited media coverage, both in medical circles and beyond. William confronted numerous felony charges, with his medical license suspended until his trial. The fertility clinic was put on hold for a thorough investigation, and numerous families stepped forward, inquiring about their children's genetic backgrounds. The financial implications were immediate and extensive. William's concealed assets were frozen, and a court-appointed forensic accountant tracked every dollar he had misappropriated. Thanks to the recovered funds, a trust was created to secure my children's financial future. After the preliminary hearing, Dr. Brooks approached me. Ashford is forming an ethics review committee for reproductive services when they reopen, and they've asked me to lead it. Congratulations, I replied sincerely. I actually propose that we co-chair it. Your insight would be incredibly valuable, he said, surprising me. For 15 years, I had existed as Jennifer Carter, the supportive wife of a surgeon, my identity, overshadowed by his career and public persona. Now, I was invited to reclaim my own voice. Half a year after the gala, I found myself at a different restaurant across from Rebecca. Our unexpected friendship had blossomed during the legal battles. 2 women who had been manipulated by the same man for distinct motives. Do you regret revealing everything? She asked. The children will eventually discover the truth. I pondered her question thoughtfully. They will find out their origins aren't what we believed, but that won't alter who they are, or my love. For them, their lives were built on falsehoods, and I chose to embrace the truth, no matter how hard it was. That night, as I watched my children sleep in the home we maintained despite William's efforts to sell it, I felt an unexpected emotion. Not triumph or revenge, but freedom. The idealized family facade had crumbled, replaced by something real. I was no longer a part of another's intricate deception. For the first time in 15 years, I was in control of my own narrative, chaotic, complex, and entirely mine.